Well, good evening, everyone. We have Elder Craig Gooden with us tonight. He's going to be teaching us a presentation on how to plan an evangelistic campaign in your church. Craig is currently he's currently the Peace Director in the NEC, which he served for the last 5 years or so. Prior to that, he was the Evangelism Coordinator for Peace since 2010, and he's also served as a Bible worker in the NEC in Manchester, in Wolverhampton, and in the West Midlands area. So we're glad that he's with us. He's got a lot of experience in evangelism, both working for the conference and even before he worked for the conference prior to 2010. So we're glad that you're with us, Craig. I want to hand over to you if you'll take over from here.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Pastor Ramden, for the opportunity to present this topic, preparation for an evangelistic campaign. I'm hoping that everything that we cover will effectively help you to be prepared to do an evangelistic campaign in your local church, if not further afield. So yeah, being involved with the Peace Center of Evangelism since 2010, had some fantastic times serving with Pastor Adam Ramden, Sister Beulah Plunkett, and just the students that we'd have. Every year that we ran the session, we always had to do an evangelistic campaign. It was part of the process that really helped them with the training that we gave them, but it was also a good opportunity to work with the local church in preparing them to know how to do an evangelistic campaign in what we saw as an effective, orderly way that was well structured from the beginning right through to the end, and even afterwards where we'd have follow-up, etc. So as Pastor Ramden's prayed, I'm just going to say just a quick prayer, just for guidance as I go through this presentation today. And yeah, I'm just going to say a word now. Dear Lord, I thank you for the privilege to be here and this opportunity to be with the Personal Ministries Department of the NEC to present on this topic. Lord, I pray on the points that I have to present, please bring them to my mind as necessary, and be with everybody who will watch this presentation. I pray that they'll be able to utilize what we cover and use it to your name's honor and glory. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. I will have some time at the end to cover questions and answers if we do have any. But I'm just going to read 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 40. And it's written here, let all things be done decently and in order. And that's one of the key principles that we have with evangelistic campaigns. I thoroughly believe that evangelistic campaigns should be well planned, should be done decently and in order. If that's a principle that God's outlined previously, I believe that principle stands today, and we should emphasize that in all of the work that we do. So if you do want to write any questions, I am observing the chat section as well. So do put in any questions that you've got there, any comments that you may make on this video as it's uploaded later on. Write your comments in there, or by all means, do contact the North England Conference or Pastor Adam Ramden, either by email or by phone if you've got more questions on the presentation, or you just need some more insight regarding resources that may be used for evangelistic campaigns. So as I'll be going through the presentation, I'm about to share my screen. So I've just got to do just a few moments, just getting this set up for everyone. So let me get that there. Okie dokie. Can you all see that? Can you all see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so preparation for an evangelistic campaign. There's a quote that we have here from, and you'll find a lot of good quotes in the book Evangelism by Ellen White that I'll be referring to today. That book is a fantastic book to really help and give guidance on how we should do and can do evangelism And I believe that many of the old truths that are presented there can actually be used. If we just look at the principles that are outlined, we can take those principles and align them to where we are today. So where she may talk about the printed page, etc., we just simply take that principle of printing something for people to see and apply it to where we are today. If it's digital, if it's audio, video, whatever it may be, we're just taking the principles from what's written and applying them in our context of where we live now. So she outlines, and it's written, success is the result of order and harmonious action. Now, with that being said, here what we're looking at, it says God is a God of order, especially from the text that I've just read. We know that it says everything connected with heaven is in perfect order. Subjection and thorough discipline mark the movements of the angelic host. Success can only attend order and harmonious action. God requires order and system in his work now, no less than in the days of Israel. All who are working for him are to labor intelligently, not in a careless, haphazard manner. He would have his work done with faith and exactness, that he may place the seal of his approval upon it. Now, of course, we want to know that any work that we do for him has his seal of approval on it. That's one of the key things we want to make sure of, that his work that we're doing for him is approved by him. But we do want to make sure the points that I've underlined here, the work should be done in as much as possible in perfect order. Now, I'm going to go through how we order and organize the campaigns that we've done in the past previously. I've had the opportunity to do campaigns since 2010, and it's been just an amazing process of learning, understanding, and really going forward by faith. And seeing how God works with the team, how he utilizes everybody to work in an organized fashion. And in doing that, we've always seen development with those that we've worked with as well, whether it's our students, church members, or whoever. It's been a fantastic opportunity to just see how God really does bless the work. So perfect order is possible, as much as possible, perfect in his eyes. And success can only attend order and harmonious action. And I've seen that hands-on. There's a need. We can't work when planning evangelistic campaigns. We can't work individually. We need to work collectively as a unit, a well-organized unit. And that, as God requires order and system with that organized unit, you'll find that as the work goes forward, his seal of approval is upon it. And you'll see this as we spend time in prayer, in the organization of a campaign. You'll see miracles take place. You'll see that he is in control when Satan tries to put barriers up. And believe me, I've experienced it. There's times when I've wondered, what do we do next? And God has just opened up another way that we weren't even expecting. So I'll talk about some of maybe one experience that I've had with a campaign when everything just got shut down. And God made a way that we could continue the campaign and transition all of the people that we had come into the campaign to a new location. So we've seen that happen. So success is the result of order and harmonious action. When everything's working together, when all of the cogs are turning correctly, it's fantastic. Because even when a hindrance comes up, those cogs are able to transition into a new element or context and still continue working. So, I mean, it's clear to see as you'll see some of these pictures that are on the screen. Rowing a boat, like if you're in a canoe, you're in a team, you're racing, and everybody's rowing. If one person doesn't row correctly, it affects the whole orientation, the path that canoe or boat or whatever you may be on is going in. There needs to be order, training, exercising together as a team, so that when you actually get on the water, as it could be said, you go smoothly together and you achieve the goal that you want to get to. Today, especially in a number of places that I'm working in, teamwork is essential. And even though many places we're separated by locations, there's people I work with and they're in different parts of the UK. And what we're finding is that we still connect via, internet, Teams, working, quick meetings that we have together to make sure that the end goal is achieved. But I'm finding that while we all do our work in an individual way, we bring our individual talents, we bring them to a collective program that we're all supposed to be involved in. So yeah, preparation before the evangelistic campaign. Where do we begin? For those of you that are on with us right now, where do you think we begin? Well, where do we start? What's the first thing that you think we do? I'm okay if you take yourselves off mute and just share a thought now. Where do you think we need to begin when planning an evangelistic campaign? Okay, I'll let the silence mean that you're just excited to hear where we do begin. All right, so using an evangelistic cycle, it gives us a good plan or process to understand where we're falling in with the campaign. Phase one of an evangelistic campaign, of the evangelistic cycle, would be personal preparation. So you want to make sure that everybody that's participating in the evangelistic cycle is personally prepared to go forward and do this campaign together. And then we've got phase two, preparing the soil in the world, or in other words, the community, the people that we're working with. How we need to make sure that the soil, the people that we're working with, we want to make sure that the seed has been planted, that there's some outreach activities that
I sent you this yesterday.
Yeah, that we've got some outreach activities that are taking place. We want to, as we go phase three, that's kind of transitioning as we're preparing the soil, we plant the seed. Phase three is planting the seed, the word, going into people's homes, going out, doing the Bible studies or whatever community project you may be running. Phase four, cultivating the harvest, finding and gathering up those people that you've been making contact with, and then pointing them forward to the place where you want to do the harvesting, which would be the campaign. The harvesting moment within the evangelistic cycle is where the evangelistic campaign takes place. That's the harvesting moment where we're going to get all of those good grains, bring them all in, ready for the harvest, and present them to the Lord and say, look, we've got these people that are coming, we're reaching out to them. Here they are, they come to hear an ordered message, which really should be a repetition of some of the things that they've been learning. It should be a repetition of what they've been learning during their Bible study moments that would have been happening between phase two and phase three of the evangelistic cycle. Then after the campaign, you've got preserving the harvest. That's where we do some follow-up and really maintaining and supporting those that have made decisions to join the church. And then phase seven, we repeat the process. But what we're talking about today is preparation for the evangelistic campaign, and that fits within phase five of the evangelistic cycle, which is harvesting. So what do we do? Well, I'm going to talk to you today about preparation before the campaign and for the campaign itself. So we'd look at outreach, the venue, letters that we use, advertisement, church training, the evangelistic team, organizing the team, and lastly, I'll show you an example of what a budget can look like, just so that you've got an idea of what we do when putting campaigns together. So outreach itself, is outreach important? It's highly important. We read here in Desire of Ages, calling the 12 about him, Jesus bade them go out 2 and 2 through the towns and the villages. None was sent forth alone, but brother was associated with brother and friend with friend. Thus they could help and encourage each other, counseling, praying together. Each one's strength was supplementing the other's weakness. Now I'm just going to pause here before I continue reading. When doing outreach, I've always found it really interesting that, we'd have these students come together, or when we've trained churches and we're sending them out to do outreach, that whenever people have been coupled up, there's always like where one has been weak in a certain area, the other person has been strong, and then vice versa. So as they go on the doors, whether it's door knocking or they're finding some other ways to reach people, I've always found that there's this balancing out between the two who go out together. And it's been powerful to see how they strengthen each other. Now, outreach does work. Just over the past, in June this year, I've had the privilege to go to a number of churches. There was June and further earlier on in the year, I think it was the first quarter. I went to another church, just gave a quick afternoon session on outreach. Some of the members had never gone door knocking before, gave them a quick session of training, which was about 20 minutes, gave them a project to just go and do in the neighborhood. And they came back with, at least within 20 minutes, they came back with about 5 people's names who said that they wanted them to come back to their homes. And I thought that was amazing. 20 minutes, they found 5 people in the neighborhood. Imagine what the churches will be like if they were doing this, not just on the Sabbath, but if they had fixed times throughout the week where teams of 2s were going out for an hour, if not an hour, half an hour, just knocking some doors, finding out what the needs of the community are, starting to ask if there's any interests in Bible studies. I guarantee that you would find people. And I've seen that every church that we've gone to, within 20 minutes, I'm finding it's averaging about between 3 to 5 people who say, come back to me. And when they've gone back, they're continuing. I went back to one of the churches recently, and they're still going back to these individuals. Praise the Lord. Outreach works, and strengthening each other takes place. And that's where some training actually happens. You can do this training all day long. It's when you're actually on the work itself where the difference takes place. So my encouragement to everybody is just get out there and start. It takes place. You'll see God opening doors for you. So I'm going to continue again now. It says, after weakness, there's the full stop, and then we're looking at, in the same manner, he afterwards sent forth the 70. It's the Savior's purpose that the messengers of the gospel should be associated in this way. And in our own time, evangelistic work would be far more successful if this example were more closely followed. It's not hard. You just get a group of people together, you get them out, you give them a simple survey, some Bible study guides that they can use to follow up with, some leaflets, some handouts, glow tracts, whatever it may be. You get them going out, and I guarantee you will see some changes of people coming in. We just need to be willing to go. So yeah, Jesus sent brother with brother, sister with sister. They all went out. We need to study the location that we're going to. So when doing outreach in preparation for a campaign, consider where the location of the campaign venue will be, and work around that area, and then branch out of that area, work with all of the people, the neighbors, the different sections of the locality, study your demographics so you can understand who you're coming into contact with, and then look at the times of the day that you'll be reaching them. You want to make sure it's a time everybody's accessible and willing to talk. All right, studying the location, we're counseled to enter the large cities and create an interest in the high and the low. Make it your work to preach the gospel to the poor, but do not stop there. Seek to reach the higher classes also. Study your location with a view to letting your light shine forth to others. Sorry, hold on. Study your location with a view to letting your light shine forth to others. So that's the key point. All right. This work should have been done long since. So our aim is really to get into a place, study the location out with a view of letting the light shine forth to others. So we don't just go in there and say, oh, we're going to do a campaign. No, we go there with a plan to say over the next year, when the campaign is finished, well, before the campaign, we're going to work for a number of weeks or months. We're going to do the campaign in an orderly way. And then after the campaign, we're going to continue follow-up and have the church members encouraged to do that follow-up. It doesn't fall solely on the pastor. It's the whole church working together. All right. So studying the location, experience in doing this has been really, really good. In the past, we've had teams. This is some of our students when our graduates preparing, or they've gone out on outreach. This is them going out on outreach in both pictures on the left, where they're going out, they're looking over the maps, and that picture that's on the right, there is a map of the town, and what you see highlighted, I always would have the maps posted on the walls. When the students come back together, or in the church that we're working with, we have the map on the wall and we say, right, this is where we are. These are the roads that we've covered. These are all of the people that we've met. And it's a blessing to be able to say at the end of our programs, when we've had a number, I think our smallest class was about 10 students. And even in that class, thousands, they're able to get to thousands of people because we just had a structured way of working with them on the streets. Did they experience some hard times? Definitely, yes. And it's in those moments where prayer needs to take place. And we've saw that in the midst of prayer, God did some mighty things. So once we've done the outreach and we've gone out, we've met the people, we've worked at different ways in working in different communities, it helps us understand that when we start the campaign, these are the people that we're working with. We've got a group of people to work with. So outreach is important in the preparation for your campaign. If you're not doing outreach, I'd advise you to really consider, well, what's the purpose of the campaign? Your campaign should be a harvest of the seeds that you have planted. If there have been no seeds planted, what are you expecting to harvest in a campaign? We need to plan to do outreach first, previous campaign, so the campaign brings those that we're reaching out to. So that's outreach. Did anybody have any questions on outreach? And before I move on. Okay, so I'll move on. Then we're going to look at the venue. Venues are interesting, and we're counseled that the large halls in our cities should be secured. So we should look for large halls. We should look for good halls, places that we can do the campaigns in. So it says large halls in our cities should be secured, that the third angel's message may be proclaimed by human lips. Thousands will appreciate the message. Thousands will appreciate the message. But large halls, so a mention is made of large halls in our cities. We're also told here to lease good halls. It says in some places the work must begin in a small way and advance slowly. This is all that the laborers can do. But in many cases, a wider and more decided effort might be made at the outset with good results. Hence, everything that's just been mentioned, I've just read there, means that you need to know the area that you're working in. You need to know the people you're working with, and you need to know what opportunities can I jump at? What opportunities can I take? What opportunities can I make? 2 different points. The work in this place isn't highlighted, says the work in this place might now be much further advanced than it is if our brethren at the beginning of the work here had not tried to work in so cheap a way. If they had hired good halls and carried forward the work as though we had great truths, which would surely be victorious, they would have had greater success. So here, I'm reading this and I look back on it and I think, it seems as if this counsel was given to a group of people who were trying to save money by finding cheap locations or cheap venues that wasn't really attractive to the people who they were trying to reach. So the counsel was, get good halls. Don't work in a cheap fashion all the time. There's times when money has to be put into this, and you will reap the rewards when you go forward by faith. Continuing, it says, God would have the work started in such a way that the first impressions shall be as far as they go, the very best that can be made. Your evangelistic campaign is making an impression on the people that come, and sometimes it's a first impression on what the church is presenting. I'm going to tell you some stories shortly about some of our venues, and the impression, that first impression is important. They say that if you make a mistake with the first impression, it may take several more meetings to fix the bad impression that was made at the beginning. So church buildings, we should go for good halls in our locations. The time that we're living in now, I can't see people jumping in to go to tent meetings or, those big tents that we used to have. I see people more willing to go and sit down in areas where they can be comfortable, where they can talk and ask questions. And you may find some of those halls either in hotels, in universities, etc. It's about knowing your audience and reaching out to them. We did a campaign in the Manchester University 1 year. Manchester was in the area that we worked in, Salford, while we made contacts in the area, and going back to one of the churches just the other day, still seeing one of our friends still go into the church. It's it touches the heart. But what we saw was that let's try and do it in a university so that we can try and draw people in. Everybody in that area knew about Manchester University, so we want a place that everybody knows about. Southport, this is Pastor Adam Ramden doing the campaign, the Prophecies of Hope campaign in Southport. And you'll see there, most of those people in that room were from the community. One of the gentlemen who's sitting here at the front, you'll see, gentleman, I can't highlight, how can I highlight here? There's a gentleman here who sat at the front on the right side, 2 seats in, close to the front. Now that gentleman, he told me when we went knocking his door, he said to me, if the council trust you to run a campaign in their town hall, I'm coming. And for me, that was like, yeah, that's proof that what we have written in our books, which was from ages ago, still stands. He said, if you guys can do a campaign in the town hall, I'm interested. Because the town hall at Southport was an important location for many of the residents. They felt that if it was held there, it's a trustworthy thing. So it was a good first impression. So the Southport Town Hall, I put downhill, ignore the downhill. I don't know why that, it shouldn't say that. I should say town hall. It's autocorrect, forgive me. So Southport Town Hall, excellent time. We had a good campaign there. There was another gentleman there, a friend, made good friends with him. His name, Steve. We'd have Bible studies, we'd talk. And he came every night of the campaign. And the first person I was talking about, his name was Sam. He came every night of the campaign that we held here. But the campaign wasn't just the main, while it was the main point of bringing everybody together, the follow-up is where a lot of the work takes place. And Sam, with the work that we did with him afterwards, follow-up, helping him, when others tried to tell him not to come to the Adventist church, he said to them, these people who have known me for such a short space of time have helped me more than these people who were complaining to him about us. He said, they've helped me more than you have for the whole life that you've known me. So I said, these are good people, because we not only saw the point of just doing a campaign to get them in, but it was also in this place, how can we make friends with the community? How can we talk to them whilst presenting important truths about what's taking place in our world today? And health presentations. There's a good organization that we have in the campaign. So Southport Town Hall, fantastic time. After the town hall, we did another campaign. That's me doing the campaign at a place called Vincent Hotel in Southport. Now, and you'll see the room was filled with people from the community as well. We had people who came to these campaigns outside of the area that we actually did leafleting. We had stories of people who came who said, you know what, I saw this leaflet in places that we didn't send the students to go to. And they said, I saw the leaflet and I said, I'm coming. One had a leaflet posted and we didn't post it to that area. So we were seeing God was really taking control of the organization, and people they came in, and we had some excellent conversations. There are methods that we go through during a campaign. I'm talking about preparing the campaign. During the campaign, there's things that we ask the students to do. Make sure that you stay seated in the same seat so that the people who sit next to you get used to you. We train the students to make sure that they remember the people's names. And one lady came to me, I think her name was Sarah, and she said, I'm coming back. I said, oh, that's great to hear. can I ask why? Why are you so eager to come back? And she said, I'm coming back because everybody I spoke to remembers my name. She said, that doesn't happen. She said, I don't know, but they remember me. And I asked her, how does that make you feel? And she said, it makes me feel welcome. So in preparation for the campaign, the training of everybody to help them understand how to care for the people who are coming is very important, highly important. Another lady, she was having dreams about the end times, and then she saw the pictures on the posters that were handed out. She said, I want to learn about Daniel and Revelation. So coming to the campaign was a good opportunity. But the Vincent Hotel, an amazing opportunity that we had. I'll tell you what actually took place with it. When we were looking for these venues, the town hall in the year we needed to run wasn't available. And I was like, Lord, what are we going to do? We need the town hall, and it's been taken away from us. We were not able to use it this year. I called every hotel in the town of Southport. None was available except the Vincent Hotel. Now, at that time, I didn't know much about the Vincent, so I was like, the Vincent Hotel? What's it going to be like? If all of the other hotels are booked and this one's available, maybe it's not that great. I don't know. So the lady I called to get the initial tentative booking date set, she said, we can do every single date that you have. So I was like, that's amazing. I wrote down a list of questions, and asking the questions, when I called her for our meeting, actually when I went to meet with her, she went through every single question I had before I asked it. She answered it. There was no problems. When I checked out the Vincent Hotel, it was one of the most prestigious hotels in the area. Great hotel to go to. It was so good, in fact, that when we sent the students out doing outreach to go to the community and tell them we're doing a campaign, we're presenting a number of points for the community in the Vincent Hotel, reports came back to me as I was working as outreach coordinator that year. Reports came back to me explaining, people were saying, you're doing it at the Vincent? Oh, I'm going to come just so I can tell my friends I've been to the Vincent Hotel. I was like, this is amazing. So there was a gentleman that we know who had come to the campaign we did at the town hall. Now, when he came, and even afterwards, every time I met him, he was always dressed in black jumper, black jeans, black t-shirt, black jeans, black whatever, black jeans. He was always dressed in black. When we did the campaign at the Vincent Hotel, this guy came whistling down the street, swinging his umbrella, aftershave just bursting out from him. And he colorfully dressed, bright colored top, bright colored trousers. I said, Steve, you look different. He looked at me and he said, it's the Vincent Hotel, Craig. I have to make an impression here. So for me, seeing that we had this opportunity was in God's order and his providence. And it was a great time to work there. We worked with the local church at Southport that year. Pastor Ian Philpott and his family had a great time with them. At the Vincent Hotel, we've had a great time in every location that we've been in, but we saw the importance of finding good locations and having it presented to the people in a good way. At the Vincent Hotel, they really looked after us. We made sure we had, and most campaigns that we've done, we want to make sure we've got a room for the children to do a children's program so the children don't distract the parents. We make sure that everybody is checked so that they're okay. At the Vincent Hotel, they gave us a black carpet. So as you'd walk in, there'd be a black carpet on the streets outside with nice little barriers that you could walk in. There was candlelight all up the stairs. Then you'd have your registration desk where people would take their tickets. We'd scan them in with the barcode scanner, and then they'd go in and we were registering. It was fantastic. And we do that process with every campaign. But at the Vincent Hotel, we saw that there was a procedure that the hotel wanted to make sure the community saw that this was a good organized event that the Vincent Hotel was hosting for us. Amazing time. So here you can see BK at the top. with the children, the excellent children's program. We've got Darren there standing next to this digital promotion of the news from the newspaper that we had as well. So everybody in the community saw what we did. Fantastic time. It was a good campaign. I really enjoyed it. Less recently, we did a campaign in 2019, working with Sam Walters, who was the outreach coordinator at that time, and Andre Crawford, the associate director. It was, as we were working, Sam said, you know, I'm going to see if we can get the Wolverhampton football stadium. And we did. We got a room at the Wolverhampton football stadium, and it was good to be able to go because, you know, people in Wolverhampton, they support that club. And being able on outreach to tell them and say, look, we're doing a campaign at the Wolverhampton football stadium. It works well when you're talking to people. So having a good venue helps in running the campaign. So letters, whenever we're doing a campaign, we always make sure to send letters out before the seminars begin and then during the seminar. So everybody that we've done Bible studies with or we've done outreach with, we have a list of details, and we always make sure, according to GDPR, etc., that we let the people know your address would only be used for the purposes of the campaign or for follow-up and coming to meet you. So while in preparation of the letters, first we want to make sure we've got a list of contacts of everybody that we've either knocked doors, who have taken some form of resource from us, and or are doing Bible studies, and then we post letters out to every single one of them. We use a program which is called Get Disciples. Fantastic outreach program, works very well. And literally it creates the labels that you can use to do the letters. So we make a list of all the contacts. The contacts receive a personal letter from us before the campaign. Then each week during the campaign, they receive a letter from us as well. We don't list every single topic we're covering in the first week because we want them not to say, oh, I'm going to wait until the end because that topic's important to me. I'm going to wait till that one's happening before I come. We want them to come the first day. So we only give selected amounts of information regarding the topics we're presenting in the letters. Then each week they receive the letters, and any topics that they may miss is an opportunity for us to actually meet with them, go back and say to them, look, here's some information that you've missed. Here's a printout of the seminar that was covered, or here's a handout for the seminar that was covered. And it's an opportunity to really sit down with them and just see how they're doing and to follow up with any Bible studies if necessary. Now, we do this every single week. So here's some sample letters, Prophecy of Hope, and you can change these. If you need this template, I'll be happy to send that to you. But title can be changed, Prophecy Seminar with speaker, and then you put the speaker's name there. The one letter that's on your left here, October the 2nd, 2014, it's just an introduction. Hello, we wanted to send you a quick note to say how much we're looking forward to your participation and attendance at the Prophecies of Hope seminar. During the seminars, we run a number of quizzes. So you'll see on the third paragraph down, we sincerely hope you will study with us for the entire seminar. We have some exciting and extremely important subjects, and those who attend 4 of the first 6 nights will receive a DVD entitled The Most Incredible Prophecy. So we make sure we've got good resources, and we do these quizzes every night before the speaker starts delivering his message. And on those nights, we encourage the people who have answered the questions correctly to come forward and to collect their DVD. At the end of the campaign, when we're making major appeals, and we do get to the stage where we ask people to come forward, by doing this, having this process in place, it actually helps them to come forward when decisions are being called for, because they've got used to coming forward during the campaign, during the quizzes. So you'll see here that we give them the time that the doors open. Doors open before the speaker starts. Okay, we want them to come in 15 minutes before we really starting, so that there's an opportunity for people to sit down, get comfortable. There's some nice music playing in the background. We may have some drinks or some some light refreshments for them to take. And we spend time talking. And because we've got the students or the church members seated in specific locations, the people who make friends with them always go back to those same spots. So here we have just a brief outline of what we'd be presenting the first time. And then on the right side, you'll see our letter, which is a number of weeks after the campaign had started. And here we're going through all the lectures. We're explaining to them when we're going to be doing a presentation in the church, the local church, so that the people who have been attending start transitioning from the venue over to the local church. And then that's a chance for them to meet with the church members, get really introduced to the pastor and speak with him if they want to. And then we transition over into the church, and the campaign venue begins to fade away, and it's just a nice, smooth transition. So that's what we do regarding letters. Letters really help. They really do help. Advertisements are super important. Advertisement needs to be well thought out. We want to provide enough information, but not give too much information. We want to provide enough information that those who are reading or coming to the campaign have enough to know, okay, I want to be there. All right, so we want to provide, there are times when you have to consider money has to be spent for advertisement. In some places, they may only need flyers. When we were in Southport, they needed newspapers. They listened to the radio a lot, so we used the radio station. We promoted on there. And yeah, flyers, newspaper, radio, and we made contact with the community in a great way. It was good to see the day when the paper was launched, to be walking down the town center and seeing people with their newspapers. And on the front page was Prophecies of Hope. It was amazing. It was really good to see. So your advertisement needs to be done in a way that appeals to the people you're reaching out to. This was the design for our Prophecies of Hope seminars. You'll see that on the front, it was just brief title. This was when we were doing it at Manchester, and we did roundtable seminars, so the people could come and sit down around round tables. On the back page, it was just some basic information. So the start day, what we were giving away, 3 key promises that we wanted to make sure people understood. The address where we were doing it, we set up Facebook pages and Twitter pages so people were able to follow, and we'd have a mobile phone that people could call if they had questions. On the inside of the flyer, we had titles of the speakers, who they were. We talked about just some of the first key seminars that we were going to cover. And then on the left page, you can see some of the titles that were being used as well, just so that there was a brief explanation of what we were going to be covering. Here's the newspaper that was given out, the Southport Champion newspaper, and that helped. When we did a seminar in 2017, this was the promotion that was done when we were working, myself, it was Pastor Joseph Philpott, Florence Manji, we were working as the team then, and we had these promotional flyers that we used. The campaign title was different. We were reaching a different group of people, so we called it Know Your Future, Prophecies of Hope Seminar, and the same principles were used with what we were doing with the advertising. It's just that the flyer looked very different. It was very neat, straightforward, and it was a nice flyer that we gave out. And to make contact with the community, it's always good to consider, how do we want this to look? All right. Don't try and design your flyers in Microsoft Word. Get your flyers professionally designed and done properly. Because if you're reaching, remember, first impressions count. So here, this flyer made a good first impression with the people we were trying to reach. First impressions count. If you need to spend money on advertising, spend it, okay? Church training, here's some of the things that we do as I'm going through church training. I'd always meet with the church a number of weeks before we do the seminars, and then a week before we do the seminars, I'd repeat the same presentation. So we talk about the venue. This was some of the pictures I had from the Manchester venue. Always go and visit the venue a number of times so that you can take pictures, you can familiarize yourself with the venue and bring the students or the church members to the venue so they know what's taking place. So we'd have seminar rooms. So we show the pictures. This is what the seminar room is going to look like. We present the children's room, what the children's room will look like. And then we go through the start dates, the times that we expect people to be there. And we want to emphasize that we want full support from everybody. We emphasize the days that we're doing the campaign. When we did this seminar, it was Mondays, Tuesday, and Friday nights. We wanted people there from 6 o'clock so we could make sure everything was set up. We had the hosts, we explained what the host would be doing. And then we went through an outline of what the program would look like. So from 7 right through until about 8, 9 o'clock, 8:45, we explained to them what would be taking place. It was important for us that we do our best to stick to time. Sabbath afternoons, when we were doing programs, when the program was transitioning over to the church, we let them know how that program would look. And we ask for, during the time that we're running the campaign, and especially at the church, that we have full access to everything that's taking place. So the church is in evangelism mode. Sabbath, when we're doing the full program at the church from the Sabbath morning right through to the afternoon, we emphasize and outline how that Sabbath program will look. It's not your normal program. It's not your normal program. There's some long, sometimes drawn out points in the Sabbath program itself. We make the program very simple, straightforward, and we literally transition what we've been doing over at the seminars in the halls over into the church, and we try and do the same type of program. What's added is the offering and just some of the other small minor Sabbath services that would take place, such as children's story, etc. The layout of the seminar, we always let the church see what the layout will look like. So here, when we had to do the seminar at Manchester Salford Church, or Manchester Central now, what happened was we had the entrance, people come through, we outlined to the church, one room was going to be used for the children's room. There was a prayer room that was specifically used during the campaign, whole time, to pray for the speaker and for the people who have been coming. Then there was the community hall. We had registration. You don't get into the hall until you pass registration. Every night, the people keep their code, their little barcode, and they'd scan it. They'd go into the room. They'd sit down. If they lost their barcode, it was fine, because we had, and they could be typed up quickly and registered on the system as attending that night. It's important to have a good registration system. So if anybody misses a day, you can highlight to them, you've missed this day, we've got some information for you that was presented. We had a kitchen that was being utilized to provide food for the roundtable seminars, and it worked well. It was a good session that we ran there. And inside the hall, this is how the hall would look. So the presenter would be there. There'd be a number of round tables, and visitors from the community came. And as I was saying, some of those, as I went to one of the churches the other day, and I saw somebody who we made good friends with, made good contact within that community, still going to church today. It's very encouraging to know that we made contact with them via the outreach into the campaign, and they're comfortable going to the local church now. The evangelistic team, you want to make sure you've got a prayer ministry coordinator, a head elder, a head deacon, and the head usher. These all help in specific areas, and I have a document that outlines how each of them work. So the head elder will be there to make sure, just overseeing and looking with the people that are there, and helping in other areas, but it's good for him to be able to know who the people are that are coming to the campaign. The head deacon can be helping to make sure facilitation of how the church works, and also working with the ushers to help the people get into the church and into the seats well. It helps. A registration leader, ticket collector, this is where we're scanning the barcodes. Your registration leader is the one that's sat down on the table to make sure that everything's done organized in an organized fashion there. Your head greeter needs to be someone who's happy, smiley, and always willing to just greet the people and happy to bring them into the church, because they are also a first impression for what that church represents. treasurer to make sure that everything is done correctly when budgeting and accessing everything that needs to be good, that you need to go through for the organization of the campaign, making sure that the books are done properly. Okay, sanctuary, hall, and cleanup. You want somebody that's going to help there so that after the campaign, they have a team who will make sure that the church or the hall or the venue is cleaned and left in a neat, organized way so that the people who you're hiring from will want you to come back because you've looked after their venue. PA system and recording. We want to make sure that the people that are on that team have everything set up. They need time. They need to not be disturbed. They need to get the PA system ready, the projector ready, the microphones ready, the computers ready. Everything's connected up. And it's good to have a good PA system and recording set up well. Building hospitality, those are the people, or janitorial, those are the ones that will make sure that the toilet rolls, everything's ready. Toilets look good. The kitchen, if people need to go in there, it looks good. The hall looks good. It all looks good. Okay. Nursery and childcare. We want to make sure that everybody who's helping with children in the nursery section, that they're all checked correctly, DBS checked, and that everything's done in a neat, orderly fashion there. When you can look after the children in a good way, parents are happy. And we always make sure that the children's program is connected with the presentations that are being done in the main hall. So when the children go home and they're singing songs about what has been presented in the main hall, it's encouraging to the parents. Sanctuary and hall decorating, you want to make sure there's somebody who can make sure that the hall and the sanctuary looks good. Parking, we want somebody to help guiding the people in when parking is taking place, guiding them to the right locations. Security and control. There are times you need to make sure you've got security there, just because when there's a disturbance or a situation, we want to make sure that people feel safe, secure. So having somebody there that can help with that, whether it be a church member or somebody who is qualified in the area, does help in that situation. A photographer to take great pictures of the campaign is important. You always need your first aiders on hand and your music coordinator to understand what's taking place. And all of this will form your evangelistic team. Now, some people may do more than one role. So don't feel, oh, I'm going to have so many people I have to look over. But you make sure that you work closely with the pastor, the elders, and the church organization so that you can promote this to the church members to see who wants to get involved, who wants to lead a specific department for this campaign so that you can know how to do a campaign. And when everybody's participating and helping, you'll see that the church comes together in such a fantastic way, and it's done in an orderly, harmonious, perfect manner. Here's just an example of what the team registration form can look like. So we just list down who is on the evangelistic team. Are they a church member? We mark that down as well. And that's just something that's kept by the campaign coordinator so that they know who to call and who to speak to. Checklist for the campaign coordinator. The areas that they want to check are as follows. They want to make sure the parking is done, the greeters are in place, registration is set up, ushers are there, table leaders who were helping with the roundtable program, they were all on tables ready to go. PA systems and projector was set up. Speakers, they want to make sure that they're all ready to speak and prepared. And the prayer room was set up as well. So you want to make sure you have a checklist. Children's room ready. Another checklist that we had that I would always hand to the program, the campaign coordinator, when I was speaking at some of the events, would look like this. I'll just give them a sheet of paper and I'd say, look, just go around and just tick off that all of these things are okay. If there's a problem, come and let me know. And there were nights when that happened and they needed to come to me and say, Craig, this person's not doing it, or they're not available. But because we made sure we communicated with the church and the students correctly, we were able to say if somebody wasn't there, somebody else will be able to come in and fulfill that position. So always have a backup for the positions as well. We'd have a host schedule that would just outline what would be happening on the day. This was just one for an explanation for maybe the first night so that they understood what was taking place. Then when they were comfortable. So firstly, just to explain the schedule. They'd go through what the times that we'd be starting on the Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. There'd be the program layout and instructions. So what we would do, explanations and talking and announcements, what announcements would be made, when and how. We'd let them know with the question box if they had questions, which would help with the quiz. And that's what the host would use. Another more clear, defined program card that somebody could use just to tick and make sure everything was there was a program that's like this when we did a campaign in Kings Heath in Birmingham. So here is what it would look like when we were doing the Friday evenings, and we just outlined what was going to be presented by who. Welcome and housekeeping, that's done by the host. Question and answers, the host. Announcements or drawings or whatever was being done, the speaker. Offering and prayer, deacons. So this just helped to keep everything organized and running to plan. Music outline, we always want to make sure that the topic that we've been presenting, if there is a song or a special item, that it's clearly outlined so everybody who's leading out with the organization of the program knows that there's going to be a song today. The PA guys need to know song is playing. We're going to have a main appeal here, or there'll be just an appeal where we're asking people to stand up, and they need to know, okay, there's going to be music that will play, or somebody's going to go to the and sing. All of these things are necessary to make sure the program runs smoothly. Budget, we're told, sit down and to count the cost. God's people are not to go forward blindly in the investment of means that they have not and know not where to obtain. We must show wisdom in the movements that we make. Christ laid before us the plan upon which his work is to be conducted. Those who desire to build must first sit down and count the cost to see whether they are able to carry the building to completion. Before they begin to carry out their plans, they must advise with wise counselors. If one worker failing to reason from cause to effect is in danger of making unwise moves, his fellow workers are to speak words of wisdom to him, showing him where he is in error. So while this is talking about, following through from cause to effect, will I finish what I'm starting? There's also this point regarding expenses. So we have to count the cost. Can I finish what I'm starting? Do I have the budget to finish what I'm starting? Large expense, most popular halls. It requires money to carry the message of warning to the cities. It is sometimes necessary to hire at large expense the most popular halls in order that we may call the people out. Then we can give them Bible evidence of the truth. Have I experienced that it has been expensive? I see the question that's come in. Was it expensive at the Vincent? Yeah, we did have to spend some money at the Vincent. I can't remember the exact amount. I don't have that with me at the moment, but we did have to spend some money at the Vincent. But the work that was being done made it all worthwhile. And what we found is that when they hear that it's a church program, there'll be discounts that coming as well. So it all worked out together. So we make sure that this is all outlined in the budget to say, if this is what we want, this is option one. But I always make sure to present a second option as well. If we can't do option one, we may have to do the other option. If there's a lack of funds, then we may just have to do what we can with what we have. And there's option two, which it may have to be in a church. But I'm just advising you that when you do run an evangelistic campaign in a church, I've seen people see the flyers, and because it's at a church hall, they've said, I'm not coming. I've seen people walk up to the church building, look at the title, look at the name of the church, and they've said, I'm not going. I've seen people crush the flyers that they've got and just throw it in the bin and walk off. And I'm thinking, man, that person made their way, took their time to get ready and come to this campaign, and they've just turned away. So it's always best to do it in a neutral location, even if it means hiring a community hall or something. See what the other options are. So we continue. Large expense. Just here's a budget example. I haven't put the prices down, but what we can see here, budgets, items, you want to look at the venue. So you put the price of the venue, advertisement, newspapers, flyers, personal invites, radio, billboards, if you're going to do that, campaign departments, how much will a scanner use if you don't have one? How much will it cost to get barcoded registration cards, pens, pencils, children's program, the prayer room, the main campaign items which are necessary, quiz cards, DVDs for the guests, book for the gift, books for gifts, other gifts, PA system, lapel mics, batteries, projector screen, etc. And then there's follow-up items. We need to get stamps and envelopes. So I'm just saying that when we're putting the program together, before we even do the campaign, this budget is presented to the church board. Okay, so the order we're going in, whenever piece was going to a church to run, firstly, we meet with the church board to explain with them, this is the program that we're bringing for the next 4 to 6 months with you. When we do the evangelistic campaign, it's presented to the church board, and these things are then presented to the business meeting to get the vote to make sure that we're okay to go ahead. We sit down and we talk with this to our the conference, those who sit within the peace board. So we'd have to sit down with the president, the treasurer, the executive secretary, youth director, the Sabbath school director, ministerial director, and we'd sit down with everyone and we'd say, this is the plan that we're running. Can we have the go ahead to go with this? And once we've got the go ahead, we go forward with the campaign, but we make sure that we communicate what's taking place and we have an outline of the budgets that's being used. So it's just important to communicate what we're doing here. This is what we would do for the campaign. And that is the end of my slides. If I'm correct, has my screen stopped? Yes. So that's the end of my presentation. So I'm hoping that everything that I've covered with you, just going through what we do for the preparation of a campaign, covering the outreach, the venue, the letters, the advertisement, church training, the evangelistic team, and the budget, and then the need to organize the evangelistic team. I'm hoping that's all helpful. Does anybody have any questions? While I'm just going to put the light up. Are there any questions? Okay, if not, then I'll close with a word of prayer. And Pastor Adam, if you're there, I'll hand over to you. So let's pray. Dear Lord, I thank you for the opportunity to have done this presentation. I pray that everybody who's listening or will watch this presentation will be able to utilize what we've covered to your name's glory in preparing a campaign. I pray that people will take this and will have some beginning stages, some input, some guidance to know, okay, these are some of the things I need to consider when preparing for a campaign. I pray that we'll do this in an organized fashion in our local churches and around the conferences, wherever we may be, so that we make good first impressions with those we're reaching out to. This is my prayer in Jesus' precious, holy, and worthy name. Amen.